The blockchain of trust in global supply chains. Every economy relies on trust. When you buy food, you trust that it's safe. When you take medicine, you trust that it's authentic. When you purchase luxury goods, you trust that they're genuine. But in the global supply chain, trust is fragile. Counterfeits cost industries billions. Contamination scandals threaten lives. Emissions data is manipulated, and consumers are left in the dark. For decades, solutions were patchwork. Paper certificates, centralized databases, and audits riddled with inefficiency. But these systems fail the moment they can be tampered with. In a world where supply chains stretch across continents, where goods pass through dozens of hands before reaching the consumer, the need for verifiable truth is greater than ever. Enter VeChain. Founded in 2015 by Sunny Lu, the former CIO of Louis Vuitton China, VeChain was built on a simple vision: use blockchain and IoT to solve the real problems of supply chains. While most blockchain projects chased financial speculation or abstract decentralization, VeChain chose a different path. Its mission wasn't to disrupt finance directly. It was to bring transparency and accountability to the physical world. The concept was powerful. By embedding IoT sensors, QR codes, and RFID chips into products, data about each stage of a supply chain could be recorded directly onto the blockchain. From raw materials to manufacturing, shipping, distribution, and final sale, every step could be verified. The blockchain acted as a single source of truth: immutable, auditable, and tamper-proof. Luxury goods could be authenticated. Pharmaceuticals could be tracked from factory to pharmacy. Food products could be traced from farm to table, with contamination points quickly identified. Even carbon emissions could be verified, creating real accountability in ESG markets. VeChain called its blockchain VeChain VTHO, a network designed for enterprise use. Instead of endless speculation, its model was pragmatic. Enterprises used the blockchain to secure data and transactions, powered by the dual token system of VET and VTHO. VET acted as the value layer, while VTHO powered transactions and data recording. This ensured stable costs for enterprises, a critical requirement for adoption. What set VeChain apart wasn't just technology but partnerships. Early collaborations with PwC and DNVGL gave it credibility among enterprises. Partnerships with Walmart China, BMW, and LVMH proved it could scale. Unlike projects chasing vague future adoption, VeChain was already embedding itself into global supply chains. This is what makes VeChain's story unique. It isn't about retail hype. It isn't about speculative trading. It's about solving trillion-dollar problems in industries that affect billions of lives. While other projects fight for dominance in DeFi or CBDCs, VeChain quietly became the blockchain of trust in logistics, retail, food safety, pharmaceuticals, and sustainability. As the world shifts toward tokenization and digital rails, supply chains cannot be left behind. The future of finance depends not only on liquidity and interoperability, but on truth, knowing that the goods backing tokenized assets are real, safe, and verifiable. VeChain positions itself as the link between the physical world and the digital economy. This is the untold story of VeChain, the blockchain built not to speculate but to solve, the ledger that could bring trust back to global supply chains. Welcome to VeChain, the Supply Chain Ledger. Part 1, the birth of VeChain. Every movement begins with a visionary. For Sunny Lu, that vision was born from experience at the top of the luxury goods world. As Chief Information Officer for Louis Vuitton China, he had seen firsthand how counterfeits plagued the industry. Luxury handbags, shoes, and accessories, meant to symbolize prestige and authenticity, were copied endlessly. Counterfeits cost billions, eroded trust, and left consumers unable to distinguish truth from fraud. Sunny realized that the problem wasn't just in luxury goods, it was systemic across global supply chains. Pharmaceuticals, food, electronics, even automobiles, all were vulnerable to fakes, contamination, or manipulation. The issue wasn't the products themselves, but the lack of transparency. Once a product left the factory floor, its journey became opaque. Tracking relied on paper records, barcodes, and siloed databases, all of which could be forged or altered. In 2015, Sunny Lu founded VeChain with the idea that blockchain, an immutable ledger of truth, could solve this. Unlike Bitcoin, which focused on money, or Ethereum, which focused on code execution, VeChain's goal was practical: connect the physical world to the blockchain. The early strategy was simple but powerful. Attach IoT sensors, RFID chips, or QR codes to products, then record every step of their journey on the blockchain. A bottle of wine could be verified from vineyard to shelf. A handbag could be traced back to its factory. A vaccine could be tracked from manufacturer to hospital. With blockchain as the backbone, consumers could scan a code and instantly know whether their product was authentic. To support this, VeChain launched the VeChain Thor blockchain. Unlike proof-of-work systems, VeChain Thor was designed for enterprises. It used a two-token model: VET, the value transfer token; VTHO, the gas token for transactions and data rights. This separation stabilized cost for enterprises, ensuring predictable fees. Companies wouldn't have to worry about volatile gas prices disrupting operations, a major roadblock in other blockchains. The vision resonated with enterprises. Early on, VeChain secured partnerships with PwC and DNVGL, two global leaders in auditing and compliance. This gave it credibility few blockchain startups had. It wasn't selling dreams, it was delivering enterprise solutions. VeChain's first use cases were in luxury goods anti-counterfeiting. Working with high-end brands, the platform demonstrated how authenticity could be guaranteed by recording product data on-chain. But Sunny Lu knew this was only the beginning. If blockchain could track luxury handbags, why not expand to food safety, pharmaceuticals, and logistics? In 2016 and 2017, VeChain began pilot projects in these sectors: food traceability in agriculture and retail, tracking of pharmaceuticals to combat counterfeit drugs, supply chain verification for auto manufacturers. Each new use case proved the versatility of the platform. By 2018, VeChain had launched the VeChain Thor mainnet, positioning itself as a fully operational enterprise blockchain. The company rebranded as VeChain Foundation, with headquarters in Singapore and a growing global presence. While other projects rode the speculative ICO boom, VeChain's focus stayed clear: real-world adoption. Sunny Lu often emphasized a key point: blockchain alone was not enough. It needed to work with IoT, sensors, and enterprise systems to create value. This pragmatic approach separated VeChain from the noise. It wasn't chasing decentralization for ideology's sake. It was chasing solutions for industries with real pain points. The birth of VeChain marked a new category in blockchain: the enterprise supply chain ledger. While others sought to disrupt finance, VeChain aimed to digitize trust in the physical world. And in doing so, it set the foundation for adoption that would stretch far beyond luxury goods. The journey was only beginning. Next came the proof: partnerships with some of the world's largest corporations, embedding VeChain into the very arteries of global supply chains. Part 2: Supply chain and enterprise adoption. For many blockchain projects, adoption has been a dream deferred. Partnerships promised, pilots tested, but little real integration. VeChain took a different path. It focused relentlessly on enterprise use cases, embedding itself in the machinery of global supply chains. The result? Some of the strongest real-world adoption in the entire blockchain industry. One of the earliest and most significant collaborations came with PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers. As one of the Big Four accounting firms, PwC provides auditing and compliance services to corporations worldwide. By integrating VeChain's blockchain into its suite of tools, PwC offered clients a new level of transparency and verifiability. This wasn't a theoretical use case. It was blockchain entering the boardrooms of multinational corporations. Another key partner was DNVGL, a global leader in certification and quality assurance. DNVGL adopted VeChain to enhance supply chain tracking, particularly in food safety and sustainability. Together, they launched solutions that allowed enterprises to prove compliance with international standards. Every certification could be verified on-chain, ensuring it couldn't be forged or manipulated. Then came the partnership that captured global attention: Walmart China. In 2019, Walmart China announced it would use VeChain to track food products across its massive supply chain. From pork to fresh vegetables, the data was recorded on VeChain Thor and made available to consumers via QR codes. Shoppers could scan a product in-store and instantly view its journey: where it was sourced, how it was transported, and when it arrived. For an industry plagued by food safety scandals, this was transformative. VeChain also expanded into the automotive sector. Collaborating with BMW, it developed a system to track vehicle data and verify authenticity of spare parts. Counterfeit car components are a multi-billion-dollar problem that can put lives at risk. By recording data immutably on-chain, BMW and VeChain created a framework where drivers, mechanics, and regulators could trust that parts were genuine. Luxury goods, VeChain's original focus, continued to evolve as well. Working with LVMH and other brands, VeChain embedded tracking chips into handbags, wines, and high-end items. For consumers, this meant being able to scan a product and confirm its authenticity instantly. For brands, it meant protecting reputation and revenue in a market flooded with fakes. Pharmaceuticals represented another frontier. Counterfeit drugs are estimated to cause hundreds of thousands of deaths annually. VeChain piloted systems to track medicine from factory to pharmacy, ensuring authenticity and proper handling. Combined with IoT sensors, it became possible to monitor not only a drug's origin, but its temperature and storage conditions along the way. Each of these partnerships demonstrated VeChain's versatility. It wasn't just a blockchain for one sector. It was a platform capable of enhancing trust across multiple industries. Food safety. Luxury goods, pharmaceuticals, and automotive. Retail. Equally important was the consumer-facing element. VeChain didn't just operate behind the scenes. It gave customers tools to verify products themselves. A simple smartphone scan could reveal an entire supply chain journey. This shifted the balance of power, allowing consumers to hold corporations accountable and demand transparency. This wave of adoption showed the genius of VeChain's strategy. By focusing on supply chains, it tapped into a universal need. Every industry relies on them, every government regulates them, and every consumer depends on them. By embedding itself into this backbone, VeChain positioned itself as indispensable infrastructure. While other blockchains sought speculative glory, VeChain quietly built real partnerships solving real problems. It didn't need hype, it had Walmart, PwC, DNV Gel, BMW, names that spoke louder than any price chart. But VeChain's ambitions didn't stop with enterprise adoption. Beyond supply chains and logistics lay an even bigger challenge: climate change, carbon accountability, and sustainability. And once again, VeChain believed blockchain could provide the truth. Part 3. Carbon and Sustainability. Global supply chains don't just move goods, they also produce emissions. From cargo ships crossing oceans to factories burning fuel, every step leaves a carbon footprint. For decades, measuring and reporting this impact has been plagued with problems. Data is inconsistent, self-reported, and often manipulated. As governments, corporations, and consumers demand accountability, the question becomes, how do we trust the numbers? This is where VeChain stepped in with a bold idea. Use blockchain to make carbon data verifiable, transparent, and tamper-proof. Just as it had tracked food and pharmaceuticals, VeChain began tracking emissions and sustainability metrics. Every step of production, from raw materials to distribution, could be logged onto the blockchain. Once recorded, it couldn't be altered. In partnership with DNVGL and other global enterprises, VeChain created digital solutions that tokenized carbon data. Factories could upload energy usage. Logistics providers could log fuel consumption. These data points formed an immutable record of emissions. The result was more than just a report. It was a verifiable trail regulators, auditors, and consumers could trust. This approach had massive implications for ESG compliance, environmental, social governance. Corporations now face growing pressure to prove their sustainability practices. Investors increasingly demand transparency before allocating capital. Governments enforce stricter climate regulations. VeChain's blockchain provided a single source of truth that no stakeholder could dispute. One of the standout initiatives was the VeChain plus DNVGL carbon credit system. By recording emissions data on-chain, companies could offset their footprint by purchasing tokenized carbon credits. The blockchain ensured that each credit was unique, traceable, and could not be double-counted. This brought much-needed trust into carbon markets, which have long struggled with fraud and inefficiency. The applications didn't stop there. Food safety and sustainability became linked, as VeChain tracked not only where food came from, but also the carbon footprint of its journey. Fashion brands explored using VeChain to log emissions across their supply chains. From fabric production to shipping, energy companies began piloting blockchain systems to report renewable energy usage with credibility. Perhaps most importantly, this aligned VeChain with the growing global push toward net zero economies. The Paris Agreement, The EU Green Deal, and corporate pledges from Fortune 500 companies all demand better systems for measuring and reducing emissions. VeChain offered a solution not just for compliance but for true accountability, and it wasn't only about large corporations. Consumers, too, stood to benefit. By scanning a QR code, shoppers could one day see not only where their product came from, but how sustainable it was. Imagine choosing between 2 bottles of wine and instantly knowing which had the lower carbon footprint. Blockchain makes that possible, and VeChain put itself at the forefront. In this way, VeChain expanded its mission. It wasn't just the blockchain of supply chains, it became the blockchain of sustainability. By making environmental data transparent and trustworthy, it positioned itself as essential infrastructure for the green transition. This focus also distinguished VeChain from competitors. While most blockchains touted decentralization or DeFi potential, VeChain branded itself as an eco-first enterprise ledger. In an era when climate and ESG dominate corporate agendas, this positioning gave it an edge. Still, challenges remained. Adoption would depend on enterprises choosing to integrate these systems at scale. Carbon markets needed more regulatory clarity, and tokenized sustainability was still in its infancy, but VeChain had proven the model. Blockchain could track emissions, tokenize offsets, and build accountability into one of the world's most urgent issues. For Sunny Lu and the VeChain Foundation, this was more than a business case. It was a moral one. Transparency builds trust, Sunny often said. And in a world facing climate change, trust in sustainability reporting may be the most valuable commodity of all. Part 4. Tokenization and finance supply chains are not just about moving goods. They are about moving value. Every product, every shipment, every certification carries financial weight. Invoices must be financed, goods must be insured, and assets must be settled across borders. This is where VeChain evolved from a supply chain solution into a bridge between the physical economy and the digital financial system. At the heart of VeChain's design lies its dual token model. Unlike many blockchains which rely on a single volatile token for both value and transactions, VeChain separates these functions. VET, the value carrier. It represents ownership and transfer of value across the network. VeTHO, the energy token. It is generated by holding VET and is consumed to pay for transactions and data recording. This model ensures stable costs for enterprises. A corporation logging thousands of product movements doesn't want unpredictable transaction fees. By generating VTHO as a predictable byproduct of VET, VeChain created a self-sustaining system. Enterprises can plan costs while investors benefit from VET's utility in generating transaction energy. But VeChain didn't stop at supply chain tracking. It recognized that once data is reliable and verifiable on-chain, it becomes the foundation for finance. A shipment logged immutably on VeChain can be tokenized as collateral for trade finance. A batch of pharmaceuticals tracked through VeChain can be insured automatically. A carbon credit verified on VeChain can be traded as a tokenized asset in global markets. This vision connects directly to the broader trend of real-world asset tokenization. While XRP focuses on liquidity and Quant focuses on interoperability, VeChain focuses on bringing trust into the assets themselves. If a bond is tokenized, its value ultimately depends on whether the goods or revenues backing it are real. By making that truth verifiable, VeChain strengthens the very foundation of tokenized finance. Enterprise smart contracts further expand this capability. Using VeChain, businesses can create programmable agreements tied to supply chain events. A contract can trigger payment once goods arrive, verified through IoT sensors. An insurer can release funds automatically if a shipment is delayed or spoiled. These are not speculative DeFi experiments. They are real applications in industries worth trillions. VeChain's toolchain platform makes this accessible for enterprises. It offers turnkey solutions for integrating blockchain into operations, from sustainability reporting to logistics automation. By lowering the technical barrier, VeChain ensures that companies don't need to reinvent their systems. They can simply plug into blockchain-backed trust. This integration of supply chain and finance positions VeChain uniquely. It doesn't compete with banks or payment networks directly. Instead, it provides the data layer that ensures financial contracts are based on reality. In a world where trillions of dollars in trade finance are locked up by inefficiency and fraud, this could unlock enormous value. The implications reach into tokenized markets as well. Imagine carbon credits that are not just numbers in a database, but tokens tied to verified emissions data. Imagine commodities like coffee or wheat tokenized with full provenance tracked on-chain. Imagine securities that derive their trust not only from legal frameworks but from immutable supply chain data. These are the opportunities VeChain is chasing. Yet as with all innovation, challenges remain. Adoption requires enterprises to integrate blockchain into legacy systems. Regulatory clarity is needed for tokenized trade finance and carbon markets. Competing blockchains from Hedera to Algorand also court enterprises with sustainability and compliance messaging. But VeChain holds an edge. It started with real use cases. While others are still proving relevance, VeChain is already embedded in supply chains, already tracking goods, already partnering with global corporations. Its token model supports scalability, its tools lower barriers, and its partnerships validate its approach. In connecting physical assets to financial rails, VeChain bridges two worlds, the tangible and the digital. It doesn't just move value, it proves value. And in a tokenized future, that may be the most important role of all. Part 5. The future of VeChain. The global economy runs on supply chains, from raw materials in Africa to factories in Asia, from farms in South America to consumers in Europe and the United States. Every product touches countless hands before it reaches its final destination. Yet even in the 21st century, these supply chains remain fragile, opaque, and vulnerable to fraud. VeChain's mission is to change that. By embedding blockchain into the fabric of global logistics, VeChain has already shown how trust can be restored. Luxury goods authenticated, food traced from farm to table, pharmaceuticals verified from factory to pharmacy, carbon emissions tracked and offset transparently. These are not future promises. They are live use cases, already being deployed with partners like Walmart China, BMW, PwC, and DNVGL. But the real story lies ahead. As the world moves toward the tokenization of everything, VeChain is positioned to become the blockchain of trust for global commerce. Imagine a future where every product is not just manufactured and shipped, but also tokenized. A crate of coffee beans in Brazil isn't just logged in a database. It becomes a tokenized asset, verified by VeChain. That token can be financed, insured, or traded in real time across digital markets. The implications are staggering. Trade finance, a multi-trillion-dollar industry, could be revolutionized by verifiable tokenized goods. Carbon markets, riddled with double counting and fraud, could finally operate with transparency. Healthcare supply chains, from vaccines to life-saving drugs, could be secured against counterfeits. Luxury goods, long plagued by fakes, could regain consumer trust through instant blockchain verification. In this future, VeChain doesn't replace existing financial rails. It strengthens them. XRP may provide liquidity, Quant may connect networks, Chainlink may deliver data, Hedera may serve enterprises, but VeChain provides something equally vital: the truth of the physical world. Without it, tokenization risks being built on sand. With it, tokenization becomes unshakable. Of course, challenges remain. Competing blockchains are entering the enterprise space. Regulations around tokenization, ESG reporting, and supply chain data are still evolving. And enterprise adoption, while growing, requires time and trust. But VeChain's track record gives it an edge. Unlike many projects still chasing speculative hype, VeChain has proven use cases with global corporations. Looking forward, the VeChain Foundation has signaled its commitment to expanding into global sustainability markets, digital carbon tracking, and new enterprise integrations. As ESG requirements tighten worldwide, VeChain is poised to provide the immutable trust layer companies and regulators will demand. The speculative arc is clear. If the 20th century was defined by globalization, the 21st century will be defined by tokenized globalization. And VeChain could be the infrastructure that makes it trustworthy. For retail investors, this story may not generate headlines of overnight riches. VeChain may never dominate the hype cycle like meme coins or speculative DeFi tokens. But quietly, steadily, it could become one of the most important blockchains in the world. Not because it changes money, but because it changes trust. The future of VeChain is not speculation. It is verification, it is transparency, it is accountability. This is VeChain's destiny to be the blockchain of trust in global commerce. The supply chain ledger. Every product you touch, every item you consume, every medicine you trust depends on the integrity of global supply chains. For decades, that trust has been fragile. Counterfeits, contamination, and fraud have cost lives and billions of dollars. VeChain's mission is to fix this. By embedding blockchain into logistics, food safety, pharmaceuticals, and carbon markets, it has quietly become the ledger of trust for global commerce. Not speculation, not hype. Real partnerships, real adoption, real solutions, luxury brands, automotive giants, not global retailers. Auditing firms, they're not waiting for promises. They're already using VeChain today. And in a world moving toward tokenization, VeChain may become the foundation that ensures those tokens are tied to truth. This isn't about price charts. It's about the future of trust. Here at LTL Productions, we tell the untold stories of crypto. The projects quietly solving trillion-dollar problems while others chase headlines. If you want to understand the Internet of Value, if you want to see the rails of the tokenized future, you're in the right place. Subscribe to LTL Productions right now. Share this video with someone who thinks blockchain is just speculation, and join us as we continue uncovering the networks building tomorrow's economy. This is LTL Productions. Don't just follow the supply chain. Understand the ledger that secures it.